Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the Professor, Greg Dooley, and the Pundit, Steve Clark. Men, take the mic.
A generational win for the ages. Michigan cutting down the final nets to win their second national championship, making history and carving the future of the sport. It's the Professor and the Pundit with Greg Dooley and Steve Clark, and we're proudly presented by Nick Hopwood, who's a certified financial planner, founder, and president of Peak Wealth Management. Retire with peak confidence. Visit it Nick's website at peakwm.com.
I've been floating in a positive way, going to class, going to campus, but in a weird way, Steve, it's still sinking in a little bit. It's still a tiny bit of disbelief, probably somewhat due to the format that we play these big four games in about a span of a week. But what a great feeling. Let's get into it, man.
I think this is going to be one of our best shows that we do. And it's not because we spent a lot of time preparing for it. We're just going to be speaking off the cuff and getting our emotions and feelings out on this one because it's been a long time. 37 years since Michigan has won a national championship. I remember it as if I was yesterday. Maybe I will get into it. But to me, this team, when being talked about, now you can compare it to 1989. I love this 89 team, okay? It's one of the best stories and marches in all of sports. The history of Michigan's early eliminations in the mid to late 80s, then being thumped by Illinois on regular season's last game at Chrysler, finally beating North Carolina on the third try in a row. First team to ever have an interim coach to go 6-0 and win the Natty. You got Glenn Rice's all-time single scoring leader. You know, I could just keep going, right, Greg? You could keep going. You can talk about Sean Higgins and who else?
Glenn Rice,
31 points, 184 total in the tournament.
And Ramil Robinson.
Right, exactly. The free throws in overtime. But this team had an historic regular season at 19-1, the most wins ever, and only bested by the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers team in 1976 that went 18-0.
So I've been putting this in context with my students, including the history of college athletics. And what a better topic but to talk about Michigan. And I've parroted your view, Steve, that 89 team has the best story, right? It's fantastic. It had everything. Bo, right? It had the drama, the interim coaches you pointed out, and, of course, the title. The team that we'll never stop talking about in a different way will always be the Fab Five. We're always going to talk about it, and not just Michigan people. People are always going to talk about Magic and Bird. They're always going to talk about the Fab Five for different reasons. But the best Michigan team, it stops right here. It's a juggernaut, this team. This will be the best. It's not a local bias, Steve. If you've been listening to any of the national coverage and the way they've been covering this is not recency bias. This was the best performance end to end, capped off by the title. And I urge my students, man, do not take this for granted. This is a special thing, right? And many of them, of course, were there for our other championship. So if someone says, congrats on the championship, Steve, we're going to have to say which one. Of course, they're probably talking about hoops, but they will be telling their friends, their family, their coworkers, and they look at me with a blank stare for the rest of their life. And I say, do not take this for granted, man.
No, you can't, because it doesn't happen all that often, although to a 21-year-old right now, being a junior at Michigan, feels like it should happen quite often.
Yeah.
You know, once their freshman year, now their junior year, just 2 years apart. You know, there was something kind of like that in one season in 1988/1989 where Michigan finished, number 2 in the nation in football. They got the Rose Bowl win for Bo. And then Michigan followed up with a national championship a few months later. This just sort of kind of what goes on. And, of course, we were seniors in high school, right, in 1989.
Yes,
so
I was.
We were right on the cusp of that as well.
So I was on spring break in Florida with my high school buddies watching Michigan win. Not feeling super attached to it, but realizing that's my school, right? It's a little different vibe. Remember it vividly. Remember being excited about it, but not like as if I was a student. These guys are lucky. But then, of course, I had the benefit of seeing Desmond Howard and that kind of stuff at Michigan. And that's when hockey started to emerge and start showing up in Frozen Fours. In fact, I believe they were in 1993. And, of course, the Fab Five. So
what a golden era.
I always say that out, but we are in another golden era or a maze era. I don't know. But, wow, it's special. And, boy, I love what you say, too, Steve, and what we've talked about on this podcast. The miles, the distance between winning and losing. It's millions of miles. And we're so fortunate. We have piles of Final Four banners, right? We have 7. We have 9 Final Fours. 2 of them are in the Bentley Historical Library belonging to the Fab Five. But there's a reason there's a special spot all alone right now for that 1989 banner. It's the distance between winning and losing is huge. We had to win this game, and we got it done.
That lonely banner is now going to have a partner.
It will, and I guess Dusty's used that as a motivation when they've got a little off track at practice. Look up, guys. Do you want that? That's what we want. That's that space up there. So I love it,
Before we talk about this team in particular, 1989 again for you. What were you doing in 1989 when they won?
I was in we rented a condo in Fort Myers, Florida. I was with 9 of my hoodlum high school buddies. One of them who turned out to be my roommate, going to be my roommate at Michigan. And so watching there with those guys, bunch of State fans because that's where I grew up. But just a thrill. Yeah, just a thrill for me. I remember it.
So I had to go to work on that Monday night. I was working at the local community television access station, and there was a city council meeting. And it was like one of my first responsibilities. And, of course, I can't take it off. I've got to go. So I did that. By the time I came home, it was already into the second half. I didn't know anything. I literally went through the garage, upstairs in my room, hands over my eyes, and then put on a pair of headsets and listen to music. And then at some point, remember those intercoms that people had in their homes?
Sure.
Where people push the little silver button, the speaker in every house, every room in the house. My mom says, it's over. And so stop the tape. The rooms were completely dark. When she made this message, my mom and dad were already in bed. Like everything was out.
The intercom.
They did not want me to look at them. And so I go down, and the first thing I notice is the time. And the time, to me, was a spoiler alert. I turned on the VCR and rewound the tape. It was way after midnight, like some 3.5 hours after the game was supposed to start. I'm going, I just watched all the post-game euphoria and everything was great. This is in the bag. Second half, Seton Hall makes that comeback. Next thing I know, I'm eating a whole tray of Keebler's soft batch cookies.
Nice.
Try get the sugar rush going on. To me, this is now like 2:30 in the morning. And then my confidence went from about 100 to 0 when the thought occurred to my head, what if this game went into overtime? Which it did. And then all of a sudden, that confidence was gone. And I realized they might lose this game. And it was a completely different experience for me. So I found out that Michigan won, survived it at about 2:30 or 3 in the morning.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I still remember that last shot by Seton Hall that almost went in and would have ruined the whole thing. But amazing. And that was a special team. And they've come up because they put up a great point total average. Glenn Rice is obviously memorialized for his 6 games. But that team, I didn't realize how many points they scored, which was on, statistically. But, yeah, that banner's not alone, man. But we got some special players in this team, too, that we got to talk about, right? That we're going to remember for a long time, even though many of them haven't been here that long, right?
Great individual stories. Let's just start with Yaxel. I mean, the Big Ten Player of the Year was needed in this championship. And I think I told you, maybe I told somebody else who was sitting alongside while you were doing laps, that I bet at halftime his agent was telling him to shut it down. And we heard on Sunday that not only his agent said to shut it down, his mom told him to shut it down. And I understand why.
Yeah.
It's a business decision. And believe me, the agent does not care whether Michigan wins or loses the national championship. What he cares about is aggravating an injury that's already there and making it worse.
Absolutely.
I get it. It's
Yeah.
a business decision. But then Yaks will continue to play. And it's always that big question that we have in sports talk. In that moment, do you make the business decision and shut it down? Or there's no way any player for a national championship would ever shut it down. Jake Butt, remember his situation in the Orange Bowl? He wasn't going to shut it down. But now that he's had a little time to reflect upon it.
And success in his career.
Yeah, he thought about, maybe I should have. It's his second thoughts. But, I mean, I thought that was going to be huge, that he may not play in the second half. He may not play Monday, but he did. And for a guy who was considered passive earlier in this season, he gave it his all.
Yeah.
And he was aggressive as he could be. And that was the formula for Michigan beating UConn, was playing aggressive.
Yeah, and he made a few big plays for this game, and I think his presence was so important. And, we're going to talk about LJ Kayson a little bit later, but, to imagine it, if you said, we're going to lose Kayson, we're going to lose Yaxel for at least, some percentage. What was he, 50%? Was he 25%?
Right.
And still be this juggernaut and this great team. He cemented his legacy here. He's the guy that is going to be recognized in the future. And again, for this tiny short period of time that he was here, but boy, the results matter. That stance he made matters, and all of the other stuff. So, what a great. I love that we're talking about this because and he's a social media. Apparently, he's very into live streaming his video games and having people join in, and he's very off the cuff. And I know this, we don't know this, and our listeners probably don't, but he's really hit with the students for doing this and being really open and connecting with them in cool ways. So good on Yaxel.
Well, not only did he decide to play, he also decided to produce. And I saw him warming up at half, and I would have put the house down that he wasn't playing because he could barely move. He could barely jump. And next thing I know, he's starting. He didn't come off the bench in the second half. He started in the second half, and he quickly drained two threes. So now he's got this hero status attached to him. It's media gold at this point that the Willis Reed comes out. He doesn't play for just 2 minutes. He plays for a number of minutes and drains threes.
Yeah, in that huge semifinal. Absolutely, man.
It's crazy. So you go into the Final Four and you kind of get this picture of this team that the Big Ten Player of the Year, the leader, and then there's all these other guys that are really, really good. Elliot Cadeau Monday night cemented and rose his legacy even higher. This was the one guy Monday night, Greg, that played above himself in a title game in which many, many people struggled on both teams. He was the one guy that played exceptional. He went downhill, which is what you needed to do. He got UConn in foul trouble going into the paint. He made the most spectacular play of the game. It was early on.
With the reverse?
Yeah. Being mugged 2 or 3 times. There was many times he was fouled. They just couldn't call. I mean, the referees at some point said, we can't call a foul every single time. He hit the team's first 3 after, a 10 straight 3 drought to start the game. I think maybe it was 11, but he was the first Michigan player to hit a 3, deserving of the MOP, and will also be known as the Carolina point guard that wasn't wanted. And how ironic is it, Greg, that the Tar Heels were hiring a new coach on the same day that Elliot Cadeau was leading his team to the confetti, to a ring, a national championship trophy, and a banner. The guy that says that the fan base in North Carolina says he's a big part of the problem.
Yeah, and all the hater talk about how this is a prefab, starting 5. They were prefabricated, they were pulled together, they were bought. This is a reject from North Carolina, and he's not the only one who was twisted out. And I do know some of the story between what happened with Trey Donaldson, but it was a hard breakup, and it was a matter of fit. And Trey Donaldson had a huge impact. And one of those banners up that is in Chrysler for that tournament championship last year, he had such a huge part in that, right? But we found this guy who was a better fit with this group of players, and he absolutely shined. And another guy that when his name comes up, it will always be in the context for how he performed. He turned into the guy on the court that I got nervous, Steve, when we took him out for brief moments in the game. I'm like, we got to have Cadeau out there. He was the guy that I wanted. If there was one guy I wanted out there, I'm like, I want that guy because I feel like he is the guy that is all the energy and the confidence, and you can see it in him. He's playing his game, and that just shows me like what an impact he made.
What a difference from the start of the season.
Yeah.
Where he wasn't hitting his outside shot. He was turning it over more than he should, and he was fouling a lot. Had to sit on the bench because of foul trouble. What he turned to in the end appeared to be one of the best point guards in the country.
Yeah, and it's leadership, man. It's what it is. Yeah.
I mean, he carried that Michigan team on his back. Like any Arizona fan listening to this podcast will tell you, that's what Jaden Bradley does for us. And Jaden Bradley was in foul trouble. Who got him into foul trouble? Elliot Cadeau got him in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. And Elliot Cadeau put that team on his back like Jaden Bradley does for Arizona. It's an amazing in-season turnaround for Elliot Cadeau.
And if there was a shot of the game, it's probably Trey McKinney's, nail in the coffin. But close behind is that reverse in the second half. Timing matters, all that stuff. But what a great play. How about Dusty May, man? We got, he's getting national run for good reason right now.
Played second fiddle to Danny Hurley all weekend.
Yes, he did. Michigan did too to some extent. People talked about how great they were, but I felt like they spent most of their time on UConn.
So we were together after the game Saturday night, driving back to the hotel. It was a little, bit of a lengthy drive, probably longer than it should have been.
Was it?
Just a bit. We'll get into that later.
Tell
it now. Tell it now.
Steve might have missed a couple. No, it's
half a dozen
after 3 in the morning.
Yeah,
and we got the navigation up.
Yep. Ignoring it.
1,000 feet, 45 feet, 1 foot. Keep going. Steve, I think you needed that right there, because we kind of weaved through the city of Indianapolis and the outskirts to get back. It's fine. It's whatever, man. We had more time together, more time together in the car.
Then, of course, the adrenaline was flowing, and just listening, I really expected that the main story was Michigan's dominance of Arizona, because prior to the game, it was the Michigan-Arizona matchup as a de facto national championship, the best semifinal matchup in a decade, maybe in the last 30 years, the third and fourth best Ken Pom team ever getting together, and Michigan destroyed this team. And the leading story, channel after channel after channel. We got serious running.
Yeah.
There's 5 channels to choose from, and we just kept hitting the button. Danny Hurley in UConn. Danny Hurley.
Yeah, I wouldn't count him out.
I mean, it was, wow. Are they going to get to Michigan at some point? Anyway, that was surprising.
It was in the pregame too, which you probably weren't able to see because you were having fun. But most of the coverage is about UConn. Yeah.
And then this is what stunned me. I mean, I was surprised on Saturday after Monday night. Lead story. Michigan wins, but Danny Hurley.
Yeah.
It's like, got him so close. Danny Hurley, my God.
Cover the spread again.
Reps. Danny Hurley, that UConn team looked like they were going to win that game. Congrats to Michigan. But Danny Hurley, no.
He hated the calls, but he loves the refs. Look, Danny Hurley.
As I'm trashing him, I'm really not trashing him. I'm trashing the coverage. My respect for Danny Hurley went up big time.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about why and what he did to put Michigan to the brink a little bit later. But Dusty May, everyone knows his story. We don't have to go into this. But he kept this team from unraveling at halftime. When the collar was getting a little bit tight, Greg, it was playing into UConn's hands. And they go into the halftime and, things have got to be said. And there's a fine line of when to push, but not to push too much. When to be calm, when to be irate. And that's just the in-game tactics. Outside the game, Dusty is setting a blueprint for college teams going forward, and his approach on and off the court is going to be imitated.
Yeah, and the comparisons to Curt Cignetti are apt, at least in one sense, right? That ability to navigate, dominate this new era. Again, it's a short time frame here with a collection of assorted talent and build, seemingly out of thin air, one of the most dominant teams in the sport. And it's remarkable. But to your point, we know it doesn't stop there. We don't know exactly everything that happens. We get some glimpses of it. But the real work to weave that fabric of these teams together happens behind the scenes. And he deserves so much credit. And yes, winning helps put all this stuff in. But something is working with both of these guys.
Right. So great talent evaluation. The one thing that has been asked a lot, but you'll never get a real straight answer. How did you do it? What did you do to make that happen? And what Dusty May will tell you is that we got a lot of guys to buy in. But it is about the talent evaluation. He won't talk about what he emphasizes and who he wants and who's the focal person and who we build it around and how we build it around it. All of that is going to change every year, but that's some of the secret sauce that he's not going to reveal in a public interview.
Not in public. He shared a little bit in my class, in my leadership class last semester. We talked about it quite a bit. They challenge some players, and they are looking for some certain characteristics, and they will challenge you when they meet you. And they poke at you a little bit, a little surprising, but they poke at you a little bit to see how you react. And a lot of it, they're looking for people with self-awareness. You have the humility to take some feedback. How it's a great sign to see how, and some of it is luck. He even acknowledges that. But that's a conversation we had in class. He's with those guys constantly, but it's also the coaches he has around him because they all have to buy in. And he gave them credit, of course he did. But they have to all buy in, and they kind of have to have that same mindset. So much credit, Steve. So where are we? We want to get into the game a little bit here?
Yeah, let's do that. So you thought it was a familiar setting.
Yeah, I'm a Michigan fan, Steve, and I've seen some stuff, and so have you. And frankly, whether you call it the shoot-a-drop, whether you're waiting for the kick in the giblets, yeah, we won the 2023 championship in football, but we were up 7 for a long time in that game, Steve, where we were clearly better, and it started to feel a little like that. But I was thinking about the 1998 Rose Bowl. Why? The game was so close and so tight, for a lot of the game. But the ending, man, where it seemed like, okay, we got this, and suddenly maybe we don't. And Ryan Leaf leads them down the field with that long pass. Yes, it was pass interference. And then they get that last potentially shot before the whistle blows. Just waiting. A ball goes in off the glass for a three-pointer. Even Danny Hurley makes a funny face to the guy when they call the timeout. He goes, wow. Then after we make 20-something straight free throws, we go to the line and suddenly miss 2, Steve. Yeah. Come on. I know you guys are out there. It really felt like, oh my gosh, if we lose this game.
Completely hear you on that. I mean, this was a Hollywood script that was being written for UConn and then being played out in real life. UConn fans couldn't have asked for much more. This game was played at their pace, the way they wanted it. Michigan's 3-point woes, they couldn't have asked for anything better. I mean, they were 1 of 14 at one point. UConn had 22 offensive rebounds. Really? 22 offensive rebounds in the game? The Huskies were 4 of 18 from 3 in the second half, Greg, but they made 3 in a row between the 5:30 and the 2:30 mark.
I remember.
So, you talk about at the end, you just felt like if Michigan could get one more stop or one more make, it's over. And then the minutes kept going. And it's one more stop, one more make, and couldn't get either. And you mentioned Gale's misses. I mean, Michigan couldn't handle the UConn press.
No.
Either.
No. Yeah, we
and then
lost
you were just looking. Well, you were almost predicting a turnover was going to happen. And the first one nearly did. It was called a tie-up, even though it shouldn't have been a tie. But it's called a tie-up. But Michigan at least still had possession. Go back in there again, turn the ball right over. And then, of course, UConn's got to hit a three to make it count the most. Sure enough, they did. Banked it home. I mean, I had people texting me at that point during the game, and I couldn't reply to all of them. But it was like, how are you holding up? Are we going to make this?
I wouldn't look at my phone.
And the ones I responded to, Greg, was this. We're the team up by 7, not down by 7. But I was feeling the same way they did.
Yeah.
It felt like we're going to give this up. But what would you rather be? Would you rather be the team down by 7 that's got a little bit of a hot streak? Or would you rather be the team up by 7 with a couple of minutes to go? And it was even scary. I looked at it's like there's 1 minute and 13 left, and Michigan's up by 9, and it doesn't feel.
Yeah,
it does not feel safe.
It didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
And when we've been through stuff, Steve, I was there. I was right behind the bench when Weber called the timeout. Like, I've seen stuff, and it was happening. It was happening.
The last 3 national championships won by Michigan football, basketball. Like, shoot, let's make it 4. The last 4 that were actually won, they weren't easy. They were hard to watch emotionally. Michigan versus Seton Hall. You mentioned the 1998 Washington State game, the way that was ending. Washington just kept holding Michigan's offense after the first quarter, and Michigan's defense just kept turning them away, but then Washington got the ball back. And remember, Washington has this explosive offense that put up over 40 on Texas a week prior to that. You just wait, and it just takes one possession.
One play. One guy gets behind the defense somehow. I felt better when I rewatched that game, how bad we were beating up Penix. I didn't quite capture when we were there in Houston. But, yeah, Steve. So,
You mentioned destiny.
I did.
I think if you could change a lyric in the Michigan fight song, you might want to add it. It's in the Mr. Brightside. But Michigan seemed, after it was over, doesn't seem like it in the moment, destined because of all the different ways they kept winning.
Yes. And to me, that is what the team's legacy really is and how you define great teams. Almost the ability to win any way they want it, including the way in that slog, that rock fight that we saw on Monday. It's just wild. Yeah.
They said Michigan can beat you in so many ways. We've heard this every week when national correspondents were talking about, we're briefing the public about this Michigan team. They beat you in so many different ways. That included Monday night when it seemed like UConn took away Michigan's fast break points. They took away their lobs. They made Mara ineffective offensively. The Wolverines found a new way to win a championship. I mean, UConn was stopping at all those different ways that Michigan has won. I got to give it up to Danny Hurley that he was able to dictate the game, that his team gave it its all against Michigan. The 23 offensive rebounds definitely shows the effort that was going through. And yeah, I mean, this guy knows how to win, but Michigan was destined to win that game.
Yeah, and he said before the game, he made statements like, look, this isn't a 7, 9, 11 game series, and implying if it were, it's probably Michigan. I didn't believe him. I figured he had an idea. I kind of believe him now that he believes that if they did play a 7-game series, that Michigan would dominate them. And you do have to give him credit. He made some great faces, Steve. I don't know if you saw on the sidelines with some of the ref calls and things like that. He was really working those guys.
He was animated in the Illinois game even when things were under control.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a sideshow and a very easy. They need a camera dedicated to him, and I'm sure they do all the time. Side note: there is no way that Danny Hurley could have afforded. Well, Danny could have afforded it. UConn could not have afforded another coach's meltdown after the Gino Auriemma, Don Staley thing on Friday night.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that had so much coverage over the weekend. Imagine the guy you would figure who would have the meltdown would be Danny Hurley, just doing something with Dusty or an official or whatever and embarrass the university, embarrass himself. He didn't do any of those things.
That's funny, Steve. That's a good point.
But UConn could not have afforded both their basketball coaches to have that kind of moment.
No, it's a great point.
And Danny Hurley was completely respectful, although devastated, I'm sure, about what happened. I think he said, we died with our shields on. This was a battle.
It was, and it makes pundits predictions, projections about the keys to the game, which we've tried to do and we've talked about. It kind of makes people look foolish, Steve.
Yes.
Like what all the keys to the game, who can't get in foul trouble, who's got to control the ball, playing time, all that. Throw it out the window. What were the keys? Our defense, our free throws, our rim protection. Was that on anyone's business, bingo card? I heard about one. Blocks, our shot, that was the key for Michigan. And it was just an absolute different way that we got it done.
That's the thing about podcasts. Everybody can go back and listen to an old podcast to see how bad we sounded in a pregame matchup. The thing is, with writers like on ESPN or CBS, they just take the stories down immediately as soon as the game is over.
Yeah, they do.
You need to do a copy and paste if you want to keep them. Look, UConn was held to 31% from the field. We don't talk enough about the defense. They were outscored by 14 in the paint, and former Wolverine Terrace Reed was held to 4 of 12 shooting. Okay, big man, 4 of 12. Well, Reed was shooting over 60% for the season. Mara, to me, was a conquering hero on defense, even though he only had 9 2 days after he scored 26 against Arizona.
I was pretty confident just looking at body language, and Terrace Reed was frustrated all day. I wasn't worried about him. He looked great in the Illinois game. I wasn't worried about him. Poor Terrace, by the way. I believe he spent 4 years at these two institutions, for a little more. 3 national championships between those schools. Terrace has 0.
Halftime once again here on The Professor and the Pundit, and Nick Hopwood from Peak Wealth Management is in the studio. Let's talk a little bit about estate planning. It's not something that everybody wants to do, but it's a necessary thing to do.
Yeah, Steve, no one wants to talk about this, let's face it. Not only do we not want to think about what happens with our estate after we're gone, we don't want to pay expensive lawyers to get it done. But here's the biggest misconception that we deal with, is the gift tax, where people think, yeah, I can gift $19,000 to my kids or my grandkids. Yeah. It's part of our estate plan gifting strategy. My question for you is, who pays the tax on this $19,000 gift?
Is it the beneficiary? Is it the person I'm paying?
It's a trick question. There is no tax. It's a gift, okay? So you can gift your son $19,000, your daughter $19,000. In fact, your wife can also gift your son $19,000 and your daughter $19,000 for a total of $38,000. And there's no tax due from you or from your kids. Isn't that nice?
That is the best gift possible.
Correct. Now, sometimes people ask, well, can my employer gift me $19,000? And that answer is no. Unfortunately, that has to be part of the income tax situation. Now, if you make a larger than $19,000 gift, it does whittle away your lifetime estate tax exemption of $15 million. But you know what? You gift $20,000, it's $1,000 over. That $1,000 comes off your $15 million. No big deal.
Yeah, that's like 1,500 years, right? Maybe I'll make it then.
So when it comes to estate planning, make sure you have your trust, your will, your power of attorney. And if you and your wife are over $30 million, make sure you have an estate tax strategy as well.
That's Nick Hopwood, the founder of Peak Wealth Management. To get a hold of Nick, go to peakwm.com. That's peakwm.com.
So you probably gleaned by now that we were together at the semifinal game, which we'll talk about, but we were not for the finals.
We have not talked with each other about this at all.
Yeah.
Being away from each other.
On Monday. So, Steve,
you hang up. No, you hang up.
I do want to talk a little bit about Saturday because it was epic and obviously completely different vibe and role with the team. But Steve, you were at the game, so I got a question. Yeah. So one thing we did notice in that semifinal was the number of Illinois fans who showed up. There were lots of Michigan fans. A crap load of Illinois fans. So I'm curious, what was the vibe in the stadium? Did we gobble up all those Illinois tickets? Was it a huge Michigan fan? I'm curious.
More UConn people did show up because I remember being outside Saturday and there was a sprinkle of UConn fans. There was a lot more UConn fans that showed up on Monday, but did they make up 30% of the crowd? No, they didn't. And when you're looking at a Michigan fan, the maize pops out like the Orange Crush pops out for an Illinois fan. Everybody dresses in orange. Few Illinois fans dress up in blue. Most Illinois fans dress up in orange. Michigan, it's either way. It's maize or blue, and if you're wearing blue, you blend in. You could have been UConn if you were wearing blue. Really?
Right.
So the maize pops out. No, there's a lot of Michigan.
A lot of Michigan
lot of Michigan that was there, but definitely more UConn people came. Some Illinois people stayed. Some did.
Yeah.
And the tickets were certainly a lot less on Monday. The ones that I got were about a third of what they were priced for on Saturday. I actually saved the screen on Saturday to what it looked like before I left on that Saturday morning to go down there.
Yeah.
And then looked back at it when I came on Sunday and looked through it. And the ones that I ended up buying tickets from in that particular section was going for 3 times as much as what I bought it for.
Okay. Where did you end up? So what level were you at?
I was in 129, which is in the corner. And so people would ask me, how is it? And I said, very low, but very far away. The being behind the basket effect was a little bit more than I expected. I had the most tremendous seats with you. Originally, I started in the 400 section behind the basket, way up high and way back behind the basket. And they had this little thing they were saying the fan ticket upgrade person goes to, like this, and they put a spotlight on him, and you go, that's Steve Clark. No,
Right.
I got the best ticket upgrade because you unfortunately had a cancellation.
I did. Yeah, so Steve benefited from that, but what a thrill to watch that game with you, though, on Saturday, and what a ride.
And with the crowd and the people who were in that section, that Michigan section you saw behind their bench, there was a lot of people there. There was a lot of, I know that face, I know that face, I know that person.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was crazy. And you just wanted to get up with every TV timeout and walk around and see people. It was that game. That's the one game that they could have had a 5-minute TV timeout per break. The fans at TV would have hated it. We would have enjoyed it.
We would have.
We would have enjoyed it. We would have enjoyed a 5-minute TV timeout so we can go talk to people in between sessions.
Oh, I loved it. So I stayed home. I had to teach Monday. I had to teach Tuesday. It's too much to try to do it.
That stinks.
Yeah. Well, one of my things is it's big for me, attendance and showing up in my classes.
Got to practice what you preach. Then.
It's a core value of mine, and it's something I've really stressed to students. And I felt like a hypocrite if I'm not showing up. Now, students are like, "Dude, go ahead and cancel. I don't care." But I didn't feel that way. But I said, "Look, I got to make the best of it," because I talked to students on Saturday who were actually torn whether to be back on campus with their students. I wanted to feel the vibe. I ended up going to Pizza House. Garage bar. It's kind of that indoor-outdoor area. It was packed to the gills. Thanks for my friend Jonesy. He's a manager there for hooking us up. Absolutely would have rather been in Indy, but I did have the benefit of experiencing it with the students. And then, Steve, game over. The flood out of the garage bar onto Church Street, straight as far as they could get to South U. Got a quick clip and posted it, so a lot of people got to see that. And it was a lot of fun. A funny thing, though, watching it with purely Michigan people, loud bar, big, huge, giant cheers when Michigan does something, quiet when UConn does something. So it's like the same sound as if we're dribbling the ball. Michigan's dribbling the ball. It's the same thing. So you don't really get that feel where you forget the cues from the crowd that you get. Like, did that ball go in? And then we're checking it out. So it was fun, though. It was a blast to see that. And I saw some of my students there, so it was fun.
I talked to a number of people who just happened to be a student at U of M in 1989 and talking about what they did. And they were on South U.
Yeah.
They were out on State Street.
Yeah.
And
I
remember the video imagery of, people climbing the streetlight post and people on the rooftops. And, somebody said one of the roofs kind of caved in a little bit, that kind of thing. And then I saw your video, and it's like, well, times have changed. How's that? And I said, well, there were actually fireworks going on in the middle of the street. And second, the high rises.
That's right.
The huge difference from 1989 and 2026 were the high rises along South U in comparison. Something else.
No, they did. The high rises?
The high rises.
No doubt.
So there's no high rises back in 1989.
No, and we didn't burn any couches in 1989 as far as I know. Of course, that is a state meme, but this time we did, Steve. Do you know this?
I did
the
not know that.
students took to a few couches.
Oh, no.
So now we are lumped in with our friends from East Lansing.
Did they have Michigan State mothers or fathers and they're genetically dispositioned to burn a couch?
Funny, I found out about it because one of my students shared that in class today. And then I've heard since. But yeah. But we're not
Saturday. I got to talk more Saturday with you.
Yeah. Let's talk about Saturday a little more because this was an all-timer, and I gotta thank you and my friend John for hooking us up with these great tickets. And yeah, I had a cancellation, but what a great way to spend just one of the most incredible game experiences that I've ever been.
Because this was supposed to, potentially go into overtime again. Greatest matchup in the semifinal, de facto national championship, and Michigan destroyed them. And Michigan was raining down threes. They used up all their threes on Saturday, except for two. If they had a bank of threes, they used just about all of them for Saturday. Everything they were putting up was going in, and our fan base was bananas. Absolute bananas. I mean, I think you were giving me the Heimlich as I was trying to give somebody CPR.
No. He's half kidding. Like, people were like laid out on top of each other, again.
And I was giving this CPR move, and then you were mocking CPR, by the way, and then you picked me up pretending to give me the Heimlich. People were just going bananas. It all depends, I guess, on who you were sitting next to. I was inspired to be doing that on Monday to get the crowd going because I had a concourse seat. They literally put a row of seats in the middle of the concourse separating 100 and 200.
Yeah.
So I literally, for somebody who likes to pace around, literally had a concourse to get up off my seat and pace. Didn't have to go up a step, didn't have to excuse through anybody, because I not only had a concourse seat, I had the aisle seat on the concourse. So like McKinney hits that three, I ran and fist pumped 3 sections over before turning around and then running back around the other way and looking at the 200 section and trying to get them fired up. Those are some of the things that happened. Another big takeaway from me was, if you've all listened to this podcast before, we know that Greg does mention the number of people that he meets during the course of any given weekend during a game. And all of this is very real. He only tells about 5% of it. Because while walking with him every 30 seconds, this is not Greg asking for love. This is people calling him out from the distance. Dooley, this. And Greg would turn around, smile, have a laugh. We get about 5 more steps. Dooley, another 10 steps. Dooley. And these are not only people with U of M, but these were his former students. And get this, the parents of his former students calling out his name. I mean, who does that? Like, I'm trying to imagine if my mom or dad calling out a former teacher of mine. Never. No, this doesn't even come close, but it was all throughout not only the game inside Lucas Oil, but at the team hotel afterwards. It was quite amazing to sort of follow you around in your element doing that. And it was just absolutely exceptional. I think you really rival Sam Webb.
I don't know about
on the
that.
Michigan. I do. I've walked around with Sam in the public.
Yeah.
And you were getting it just as much, if not more. So
it was,
wow.
It feels good. It was fun. It's fun to know some of the parents too, or get to know them, or have their the students run over and say, hey, this is my dad, and that kind of thing. It was really cool. We got to see President Grasso himself, Steve,
yes.
after the game. That was fun. Who I happen to know, but he was great.
Exactly.
Said hi. Yeah.
I ran into 2 people on Saturday. That was nice. and compare it, 3 people who I don't remember came to me on Monday.
You got some Clarks?
3.
You got some Clarks?
Exactly.
Okay.
3.
Good.
3.
All right.
So,
Well,
wow, I got a long way to go.
I love it. It was a fun. It's a thrill. I love. I'm a people person. You see me in my helmet, and I love talking to everyone. Even Tracy Wolfson, who I know, we set up and said hi. That was cool. Saw Kim Barnes-Arico there. Lots of people, man.
Tracy Wolfson working the crowd hours after her job is over. She just wanted to be a part of it as much as you and I did.
If you've heard, she's pretty famous. If you've heard she's cool, she's cool. Okay, she's really cool and friendly. Loves Michigan. Doesn't show it on the sideline reporting job. Speaking of,
if you know, you know.
Yeah. So speaking of people, Steve.
Yeah.
Who's the best company if you need people in your organization? Who do you think? Maverick Technology Partners.com. You need AI teams and talent that actually deliver. You think the world of college athletics is changing? We're riding the crest of it here at Michigan. The business world is moving even faster because of AI. Maverick's new practice delivers AI talent to you, and they fill over 50% of the jobs they take from their customers. A normal agency is 20%. 20%, Steve. I believe that was the combined shooting percentage in the funnels on Monday. But they don't spray resumes. They do the work, like Dusty May finding talent. They understand your needs, and they find the right fit for you to bring championship caliber resources to your organization. They accelerate your roadmap. They keep teams focused on what you do best. Who? Maverick Technology Partners.com. Tim, we love you. We know you're celebrating with us. Go to Maverick. Go check them out. MaverickTechnologyPartners.com. By the way, they've been playing little clips from our podcast on LinkedIn. So check them out on LinkedIn. Check out the last clip. We love you guys. It's Maverick Technology Partners.
Well, we are way past halftime, but it is kind of halftime because we have a lot more to talk about. We're not even done talking about Michigan basketball yet. What's next for Michigan? Champion Circle will host a celebration honoring the 2026 team Saturday, April 11th at the Chrysler Center. It will be at 1 p.m. Prior to that event, University of Michigan is hosting a parade through Ann Arbor starting at 10 a.m. I don't have the map yet. This news came out Tuesday afternoon. Reserve seats, by the way, for the Chrysler Center event, $30 for the upper, $75 for the lower. Proceeds going to Champion Circle. Greg.
Naturally. Are you going to be there, Steve? Do you know?
I do not know yet.
I believe they are starting from the president's house, so I'm guessing it's following a similar route that they did.
Team.
Yeah, so that's going to be a blast. I'm going to try to be there. If we can get in, it would be wonderful. So we will see.
Student tickets, $20, by the way.
Okay.
Those attendees will have access to the Maze Rage section within the arena. If it's important to you, ticket information will be communicated by the Michigan Ticket Office via email to eligible students. I'm reading off the press clip. Season ticket holders and donors with 500 or more priority points also will have a chance to purchase.
500, that's a lot. Okay.
500 priority points?
That's a good number. That's a high level. Okay. Yeah.
That just shows you that there's people that have them.
Yes. Oh, they definitely have them. Oh, fantastic. All right. So, Steve, we also have a problem, right? This is where we need Nick Hopwood. We keep winning all these championships, Steve. What does that mean? Gear, posters framed, right? Quarter zips, what else? We have to keep finding space on our walls. Do we need bigger houses?
Right.
That's where we need Nick, right? Do we need bigger dens and offices, right? I'm running out of space. And don't forget, I framed a couple Indiana things because I went to business school there. I don't have room on my wall. This is a good problem.
It is a good problem.
What if hockey wins?
Oh, my gosh.
What
that
now?
is this Thursday. Should we talk about hockey before we finish up
Briefly.
basketball?
Briefly. Yeah. We're not done yet. If you follow Dave Portnoy from Barstool, he's been, of course, going Michigan crazy, and he's been hyping the hockey. We're next. We're going to get hockey. Thursday in Las Vegas. If we win, the finals is Saturday. I know a lot of people going out there. It's going to be a blast, but on the other side of it is Wisconsin. And so they're really good. As I mentioned, they're the team that knocked off Michigan State, kind of stunned them. And it's all coming up Big Ten, Steve. And if we can take a sec here, is this a good time to talk about the Big Ten dominance?
Yeah,
Football.
I just want to
Go
mention Michigan is playing Denver Thursday night. That's the team that knocked off top-seeded Western Michigan in a rout, 6-2. As you mentioned, if Michigan can best pass Denver, they will play Saturday, April 11th.
Yes, in Vegas, of all places. And it's coming up Big Ten, man. Obviously, we had the football championships. Finally, the Big Ten gets another one. First since 2000 in Michigan State, and I was at that Final Four in the first game. And here we are, and we've got women's basketball. UCLA got it done, a team, that Kim Barnes-Arico team, who lost in the Elite Eight to Texas. But we took UCLA down to the wire at Chrysler, man. And that team is so close. But that's another Big Ten championship. Of course, Penn State wrestling. You toss in Michigan now and maybe a hockey title. We won the women's hockey title. We won field hockey. We won wrestling. On and on and on. Business is booming with the Big Ten. And by the way, I watched all the Big Ten network coverage. Mm-hmm. They were beaming about it. They were beaming, and Dave Revson himself, the big guy there, even kind of broke character, where he's pretty straight-laced. He's fun, but he doesn't but he's fun. He goes, look, I got to tell you, it was nice being in a winning locker room, because I've been to I think you're right. He said, I've been to 8 losers. So he really loved it. Yeah, it's cool. It's all Big Ten, though, man.
It is, and nationally, the shovels have come out for the SEC, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
The dominance about the SEC, always being the best, always, thumbing their nose at the Big Ten. The Big Ten is taking over, and finally, nationally, people are starting to recognize it. Even during last college football season, the arguments from national people were, look, the SEC is much more entertaining. They were close games, and because of that, they're still the best conference. Well, they're not the best conference, because the team with the best conference has the teams that have the ones that win at the end, not because they're close. I think there's been some Mid-American games that probably went down late in the fourth quarter. Are they the best conference of college football? No.
It's not even close.
No, but that was the argument. That was the argument last football season. And, of course, because the games are so close and the ratings are so high in the SEC, this is doomsday for the Big Ten. Winning championships is doomsday for the SEC. So I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too. I love it. And we do have this Final Four in Detroit next year too. Could set up for a great Big Ten showdown in Big Ten country once again. It would be amazing, man. Yeah.
I love the atmosphere on Saturday and Monday. It's one of those things that, because it would be in Detroit, I would go again and pay tickets for it, or at least I would go to the event outside just to soak up the atmosphere.
It's great. I went to the North Carolina Championship, saw State play twice. It was fantastic. It was great. And by the way, Detroit since then is way better. Like that area, it's way better. So
it's way better. And but they've Indianapolis does an amazing job, and it will be compared to Indianapolis, and it will be compared to whatever they decide to do in 2028. And so they've really got to do a great job to make it happen again. And if it doesn't go well, then you could go a long time without hosting one.
Yeah, and Steve, if you drive me home, I'm guessing it's going to be a lot smoother. Just get on I-94, Steve. I-94, this one.
I won't even
turn.
I won't even turn on the navigation.
All right, man. Excellent.
If I end up taking you back from Greektown or something like that. Look,
excellent.
Want to talk about, what we're hearing lately. What now? Michigan has won a national championship. What is next for the Wolverines? We're all hearing about Yaxel's rehab in the near future. That's going to be coming up. Isn't expected to need immediate surgery. Maybe he won't get any at all. Reportedly, he has an MCL strain in his knee. It may hurt his draft status, his performances, and how he handled what happened from deciding to play to producing while hurt, sharing his honest feelings while he was playing on the court, I think could have helped him. USA Today has him going number 8 in their latest mock draft, ESPN at number 17. But they haven't even had a draft lottery yet, so we don't even know what teams are in what order at this point. Roddy Gale, he's out of eligibility. I mean, boy, he peaked at the very end, the last 6 weeks after Kayson's injury, and the former Buckeyes know it. I mean, Roddy Gale played his best basketball of his career in those last 6 weeks. Unbelievable guy.
Yeah, his emphatic block, another one that must have been a great moment in the stadium. It was epic, where I was watching. Another one of those moments, just fantastic,
Yeah, we don't talk a lot about defense, but he was huge with the blocks. He was huge with the strips, just as much as he was with the slams. And Roddy Gale peaking at the right time, but his college career is over, and probably professionally, possibly too. But
possibly.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
The Buckeye-ness of him was just a great little thing.
Having that part. Oh, and then I'm hearing the Buckeyes are going to maybe get Scottie Pippen's son and do a reversal.
Okay,
Justin. We're going to do the Roddy Gale reversal. Okay. Call me in a couple of years. Tell me how that works out. Namari Burnett and Will Cheddar. Both have used up their eligibility, Greg. These guys 2 years ago were on the 8-24 basketball team. Had plenty in common with Rob Pelinka's and James Voskuhl, Michael Talley, Eric Riley's tenure during the Fab Five era. But I think Burnett and Cheddar probably handled the situation better. They had brand new roles, and there wasn't any, what I know of, any reported friction that I'm aware of. I guess I'll have to wait for the book.
Yeah,
to see
maybe
if there's something.
Yax will basically come out and said, no, those guys knew their roles and they played it, and it's what made this work. Yeah, and I'll always have that moment with Namari.
Time for madness! That's right.
2.5 hours of filming where we got to make time for madness together. I'll always have that clip. So much fun. What about Mara? What about Mara and Morez?
Yeah, both are expected to go through the draft process and get evaluated. Each has eligibility to return to Michigan or anywhere else if they want to. That front court rim protection, man, you're 7'3". I like this. So you're 7'3", Mara, and you think, I got to work on my hook shot to get over top of defenses.
Yeah.
And yet he did. I mean, Terrace Reed was a really good defender. And, sometimes you're going to run into people who are just as tall as you are. You're going to have to be able to throw up a hook shot. So he really worked on that in the offseason. I mean, it's nice also to see that Morez had a better weekend from the regional in Chicago.
Yeah, he was a spark in the beginning of this game for us, which kind of got the sands of time kind of washed away. But he got much better. It's funny you mentioned the tall thing. I was listening to the Barstool guys this morning because I wanted to hear Portnoy gloat, and one of the guys made a funny thing. It's like, maybe we're overthinking this. It's basketball. Tall still matters, because that was a big factor in this game, and Hurley talked about it. I did love this story of Mara. This throughout this tournament, different characters kind of came up in Mara, especially with his Spanish parents coming in, for reuniting with him for the game, and draped in the Spanish flag after the game was really cool. So I don't know how much I've talked about this, but Big Rez, as I call him, has always been a favorite. I've been calling him Big Rez. He was a student of mine. To me, it was always Big Rez when I talked to him. And I don't remember if I've talked about it here, but I did have the opportunity to watch 2 early practices of this team. Yeah. And I just was so impressed by watching the body language of the team, but also watching Rez. And he was instructing and telling players and co-coaching on the court. His presence during drills and everything like that, it was like he's a sophomore. It was like a fifth-year senior, the way he conducted himself. He's a special dude, and he's a really good student.
I remember I remember you telling me that. You came back from that off-site practice and said, Steve, I think this team could really do something this year.
They look so good.
And you weren't declaring anything. You weren't declaring national championship. You weren't declaring a Big Ten title, but you're saying these guys might be really special.
Yeah.
And you ended up nailing that. Right.
How about it?
Right at the very beginning. Elliot Cadeau, expected to be back with the Wolverines next season. That's great news.
Fantastic.
I mean, yeah, could things change? So there's a lot of intangibles that are going on, but he's expected to be back with the Wolverines as
if he can stay healthy from all the back slaps that he's going to get for the next year. All right.
As well as Trey McKinney.
Yeah.
Boy, did we get to see a vision of the future. Did we not? And maybe only a year, but imagine McKinney, Cadeau, Michigan State's Jeremy Fears, and Illinois' Keaton Vogler if he doesn't go pro.
Yeah, that guy.
As the guards in the Big Ten next season.
Put away all the fears like jokes and hate, the rival hate. That guy's so good. And the guy from Illinois is fantastic, man. So if they're all together, will we see them in Detroit? Could we see them in Detroit? And if they do, they will be, all of the three teams will be some of the top preseason teams for sure.
The last of the 9-man regulars, LJ Kason, he'll be rehabbing through next season. So he's not playing next season for Michigan. And he's going to try to heal up, rehab, be ready for 27, 28, and hopefully with his Michigan team. Again, a lot of things can change. It's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But here is the calendar schedule. The transfer portal opened up about a half hour after Michigan won the national championship. The transfer portal closes on the 21st of April. 5 days after that, on the 26th, is the early entry deadline for the NBA draft. Those that want to make a decision about whether they want to test the waters and go pro. Of course, you can do this now and then retract yourself back if you don't like the way the response looks.
That's what Yaxel did.
Exactly.
Yep.
May 10th to the 17th is the NBA Draft Combine in Chicago. Yaxel was in the NBA Draft Combine, and then it was after that where he decided to go to Michigan, and that deadline is May 28th. So that is a look at your calendar coming up. Transfer portal already opened up. Early entry on April 26th. Combine for a week beginning May 10th through the 17th. And the deadline to withdraw on May 28th. Is that about it?
What's next for us? Do we have to decide which, I don't have any basketball gear. My Fab 5 jersey that I have is framed, and Jalen Rose signed it. I need stuff.
It's hard to top that one.
Nick, I need money. I need stuff. I need room. I need a new den. I need an annex. I need to carve out like a hole in my basement for more room here, Steve.
I went to the Authentic store, and
You mean the Final Four store?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah. And so there's two sets. I mean, it's a cool thing to have a Final Four, and it's just the Final Four Indianapolis banner, and you can have it on a dress shirt or a T-shirt. There's things I think about, like long sleeve shirts that aren't sweatshirts. I only wear those things about 3 weeks a year. If I get a T-shirt, okay, if I'm at the gym, I could wear that. Wintertime, when it's basketball season, maybe it's sweatshirts.
Yeah,
the way to go.
I go for the hoodies because that's kind of what I wear in class, and I like the hoodies or the quarter zips.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And then you got Final Four versus champion, and do you like champion with a year number on it, or does it date itself because there's a year on it, or do you keep the number because that celebrates something special?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to say.
Not a sponsor, but I like some of the stuff that Hometown Apparel does. They do some throwback logos and things like that and mix in. Like I have a cool sweatshirt for the championship. I'm going to see what they have. Okay. We'll see. These are great decisions. These are things we're going to talk about on future shows. And yeah, we're going to talk about football. And I'm guessing we're not done talking about basketball.
No.
I'm guessing we are not done, Steve. In fact, Coach John Beeline is supposed to be at least zooming into my class to talk. And yes, we're going to talk about this team and get his take on it. I'm not going to miss that opportunity. My students would beat me up. They wouldn't say Dooley if they saw me, if I didn't ask Beeline about the team. But much more to come. Very excited, Steve.
We'll be talking football in our next podcast as well.
And what a great memory hanging out with you on Saturday, connecting with you and going through this with you. And to you, the listener, thank you. We hear so many great feedback. And by the way, yes, a lot of those people shouting Dooley, a lot of them said, I love your podcast, man. So it's a hat tip to you, Steve, and our listeners. Tell a friend. Share it. Love it. Visit our sponsors.
And now we can finish off the show by saying your Michigan basketball team, your national champions. Go Blue, Greg.
Go Blue.